All right, everybody, buckle up. Welcome to our deep dive into the top 10 fastest collapsing countries in Europe. You know, Europe, that magical land of baguettes, tiny cars, and apparently impending societal doom. Just kidding. It's not all doom and gloom. Mostly, look, the truth is a whole bunch of European countries are facing some serious challenges, from economic meltdowns to political dumpster fires. We're talking the kind of instability that makes you want to build a bunker out of pierogies and hope for the best. But before you start brushing up on your doomsday prepper skills, we're going to break it all down for you. In this video, we'll explore the factors contributing to their rapid decline and what it means for the future of the continent, because let's be honest, a collapsing Europe benefits absolutely no one except maybe Putin. First up, let's talk about Greece, the land of ancient philosophers, delicious gyros, and, oh yeah, crippling debt. Remember back in 2008 when the global economy took a nosedive? Well, Greece got hit particularly hard, like getting kicked in the economy while it was already down kind of hard. You see, Greece had been living a little bit beyond its means for a while, racking up a mountain of debt. Think of it like this. Imagine going on a champagne and caviar shopping spree with your credit card, except your credit limit is basically the GDP of a small island nation. This overspending, coupled with some, shall we say, creative accounting practices, led to a full-blown sovereign debt crisis. Suddenly, Greece was on the brink of defaulting on its loans, which would have had catastrophic consequences for the entire Eurozone. The solution? Austerity measures. And if you're not familiar with that term, it basically means a whole lot of belt-tightening, spending cuts, and economic pain. Next, we travel east to Ukraine, a country that's no stranger to turmoil. Even before the whole, special military operation thing kicked off, Ukraine was already grappling with some serious issues. Corruption, for one, was rampant. We're talking the kind of corruption that would make a FIFA executive blush. Oligarchs, those lovable billionaires who made their fortunes after the fall of the Soviet Union, basically had the country in a chokehold, using their wealth and influence to line their own pockets at the expense of everyone else. This endemic corruption, coupled with weak governance and political instability, created an environment where progress was, let's just say, challenging. It's like trying to win a game of Monopoly when one player starts with all the properties and the bank, and also keeps stealing from the free parking pot. And then, of course, came the whole Russia situation. You know, the one where a certain shirtless strongman decided to liberate a sovereign nation by, invading it. Hold on to your potatoes, folks, because we're heading to Belarus, a country often referred to as Europe's last dictatorship, and honestly, that's not even hyperbole. You see, Belarus has been ruled by the same man, Alexander Lukashenko, since 1994. That's right, 1994. Back when MC Hammer was still a thing and we all thought the internet was just a fad, Lukashenko's rule has been characterized by, shall we say, a certain lack of democratic principles. Think rigged elections, suppression of dissent, and a healthy dose of good old-fashioned authoritarianism. It's like a time capsule from the Cold War, except instead of nuclear paranoia, there's just a general sense of apathy and resignation. And if that wasn't enough, Belarus also happens to be heavily dependent on Russia, both economically and politically. Chapter 4. Bulgaria. Where have all the young people gone? Next up, we're off to Bulgaria, a country known for its beautiful beaches, delicious yogurt, and, oh yeah, a rapidly shrinking population. See, Bulgaria has the dubious honor of having one of the fastest declining populations in the world. We're talking about a demographic crisis of epic proportions. It's like watching a nature documentary about a species on the brink of extinction, except instead of cute pandas, it's grumpy old Bulgarians. So why are people fleeing Bulgaria like it's a sinking ship? Well, there are a few reasons. Low birth rates, for one, are a major factor. Young people are simply not having enough babies to replace the aging population, and then there's the whole emigration thing. Chapter 5. Romania vampires aren't the only thing draining the life out of this country. Get ready for some spooky tales, folks, because we're heading to Romania, the land of Dracula, haunted forests, and, unfortunately, some very real environmental problems. You see, Romania is home to some of the most pristine forests in Europe. We're talking about ancient woodlands teeming with biodiversity, the kind of forests that look like they're straight out of a fairy tale. But these forests are under threat. Illegal logging, often fueled by corruption and greed, is decimating Romania's natural heritage at an alarming rate. It's like watching someone take a chainsaw to the Mona Lisa, except instead of a painting, it's an entire ecosystem, and it's not just the forests that are suffering. Chapter 6, Serbia, where the coffee is strong and the political tensions are stronger. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're heading to Serbia, a country with a long and complicated history. And when I say complicated, I mean Game of Thrones level complicated. Except instead of dragons, there's ethnic tensions and political intrigue. Serbia has been at the heart of many conflicts over the years, most notably the Yugoslav wars of the 1990s. These wars left deep scars on the region, both physically and emotionally, and while the guns have been silent for some time now, the underlying tensions remain. Serbia's relationship with its neighbors, particularly Kosovo, remains fraught. It's like a family Thanksgiving dinner where everyone's pretending to get along, but you can still feel the passive-aggressive tension in the air. Next, we travel to Bosnia and Herzegovina, a country still haunted by the ghosts of its past. You see, Bosnia was one of the republics caught up in the Yugoslav wars, and it was a particularly brutal conflict. The war in Bosnia was marked by ethnic cleansing, genocide, and widespread destruction. It was a stark reminder of the horrors that humanity is capable of inflicting upon itself. And while the war ended in 1995, Bosnia is still struggling to come to terms with its legacy. The country is ethnically divided, with deep-seated mistrust and resentment lingering between its different communities. This division has made it incredibly difficult for Bosnia to move forward. Get ready for some geopolitical intrigue, folks, because we're heading to Moldova, a tiny country sandwiched between Romania and Ukraine. And when I say sandwiched, I mean it's like that last pickle in the jar that you have to fight your family for. Moldova is caught in a tug-of-war between Russia and the West. Russia has a strong influence in the country, particularly in the breakaway region of Transnistria. Remember Transnistria, no? Well, it's basically a sliver of land that declared independence from Moldova in the early 1990s with Russia's backing. This geopolitical tug-of-war has left Moldova in a precarious position. It's like trying to walk a tightrope while balancing a bowling ball on your head and juggling chainsaws. Next up, we're off to Albania, a country that was once one of the most isolated in the world. Under the rule of Enver Hoxha, Albania was a communist hermit kingdom, cut off from the rest of the world. Imagine a country where owning a car was illegal, religion was banned, and the only TV channel showed propaganda broadcasts. That was Albania under Hoxha. Since the fall of communism in 1991, Albania has been trying to catch up with the rest of Europe. It's like that friend who went backpacking for a year and came back with dreadlocks and a newfound appreciation for hacky sack. Finally, we arrive in North Macedonia, a country that knows a thing or two about identity crises. For years, this small Balkan nation was locked in a bizarre naming dispute with Greece. You see, Greece has a region called Macedonia, and they weren't too keen on another country using the same name. It's like if Canada got mad at the United States for having a state called Washington. This dispute had real consequences for North Macedonia, preventing it from joining NATO and the European Union. It was a classic case of a small country being held hostage by a bigger one. Finally, in 2019, a deal was reached. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for watching our deep dive into the fastest collapsing countries in Europe. I know, it's enough to make you want to crawl under your duvet and never come out. But hey, chin up! It's not all doom and gloom. These countries face real challenges, but they're also home to resilient people with a rich history and culture. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be making a follow-up video about the most countries in Europe. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insightful content. And let us know in the comments which country you think will recover the fastest. Personally, my money's on, well, I'm not going to say I'm not a miracle worker, people.